Welcome to the Hard Rap Cafe. I'm your host, Rocky Dennis. This week's episode, we'll be interviewing SMOKGOD, aka the West Wind, and follow up on the Virgin Records meeting and the aftermath, which ultimately would lead to the downfall of CRU THIK. Welcome to the show, SMOKGOD.
Peace and power, peace and power. What's cracking?
Man, we appreciate you for tapping in with us. So before we get into any of the CRU THIK stuff or the killer tape, let me get a little background on you. Where were you born and raised at?
Well, I was born in a small little town in LA County known as Watts.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Actually, my mother was an original Soul Train dancer, pregnant with me, living in the Jordan Downs, 103rd Jordan Down Projects, which later became more infamous in I think the 1992 movie Menace to Society, where Kang lived.
Right.
That's where, when I came home from the project, from the hospital, that's where I came home to. So I grew up on the east side in Watts, and then later on in the late 70s, early 80s, I was already back and forth to my granny house. She stayed on 118th and Wadsworth. And in the late 70s, my granny moved to Vegas, Las Vegas. And then we moved into my granny house, 118th and Wadsworth, which is known for the legendary, infamous 11-8 block Crips, started by Little James Compton, Raymond Washington cousin.
Okay. Now,
so these is like my G homies, Little James, G-Man, Kiko. These is the cast that I looked up to. And then later on in the late 70s, after Raymond came home from Tracy prison in California, he wanted to unite the whole East Side and bring East Side Crips back together, and came up with the East Coast Crips, which my set became a part of, which is, in my generation coming up, was the largest Crip hood in all of LA County.
Now, what is your introduction to hip hop?
My introduction to hip hop it's interesting because just like everybody else, 79-year Rapper's Delight. Now, I was kind of, back then, it's so crazy because you got social media, you got the internet, all this stuff right now. Back in the early 80s, I had two cousins from the East Coast, and not East Coast Crips, as far as East Coast meaning across the country, which my cousin Rick, shout out to my cousin Rick, he was from Baltimore. He was my first rap partner.
Okay.
And then I had my cousin Kelsey from Brooklyn. They both used to live in California in the early 80s. So, and they were two pretty niggas, they had all that East Coast fashion. My cousin Rick used to live in Brooklyn too at some point as well, but they used to come with that New York hip hop and New York fashion, as well as that East Coast mentality. You know what I'm saying? Like they was the shit. They was bringing hip hop. They was bringing mixtapes. They was bringing the style. They was bringing the clothing, and I was kind of like jealous, because Back then, it wasn't cool to be from LA. It wasn't cool to be from Watts. It wasn't cool to be a Crip, a gangbanger. You feel me?
Yeah. So speaking on the East Coast, when exactly did you migrate or move to the East Coast, and where did you land when you moved there?
Well, first we kind of went on a tour. We came to Florida first. Like, we visit I had an uncle in Florida, in Orlando, and then my stepfather was from Greenwood, South Carolina. So we went on tour, like, so we went from Florida to Greenwood, then I went to Brooklyn, and then from Brooklyn I came down to Virginia.
So what year was that you reached Virginia?
1988.
1988. And what did you think about it when you arrived?
It was different. It was well, I gotta say, and I know a lot of Virginia niggas may hate me for it, but I gotta keep it real, you know what I'm saying? It was just slow.
Upon arriving in Virginia, where exactly in Virginia did you touch down? Was it Newport News that you first?
Nah. Well, most people know me from Virginia Beach.
Okay.
But if you want to be technical, the first place I touched down was in Chesapeake.
Okay.
Because my stepfather was in the military, and we were moving into Navy housing, and they had a Navy housing in Virginia Beach called Carper.
Okay.
But I guess we were like on the waiting list, so we had to wait for the house to come available. So we lived, my auntie and uncle, my cousin Rick, who from Baltimore, who used to live in Long Beach and San Diego in the early 80s in California. When we moved to Virginia, they were living in Chesapeake in Camelot, a place called Camelot, off of George Washington Highway, right next door to Cavalier Manor. It was on the borderline of Chesapeake and Portsmouth.
Yeah,
so we actually stayed with them in Camelot in Chesapeake until our house got ready in Virginia Beach, the Navy house in Carper, which was in a community known as Green Run. One of the first person I met in junior high school, you know, when you mama take you to the school and she enrolling me, you know what I'm saying? And people see this new kid, everybody like, who is this? One of the first person I met, I went to school, it was Timbaland, the producer. Timbaland made this smiling beat that I wanted so bad. And this is really the reason why CRU THIK exists.
So let me ask you this. Would it be fair to say that, you know, coming from LA, when you reached to the East Coast of Virginia, just like, you know, you said Virginia was a little slow, you know, in the streets, but musically, would you say that, you know, they were a little advanced as far as where you came from on the West Coast?
Oh, hell no. Nah. Virginia didn't have nothing.
Okay.
They had Timmy Bill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They had the Soul Ranger. Now, what happened, and and New York has been this way for a lot of people and in a lot of states, but New York helped elevate Virginia culture.
Well, like, when I say Virginia, you know, I mean,
I'm coming down here with my cousin Kelsey and my Brooklyn niggas, my niggas from Brevoort, which is actually coincidentally the projects that Fabulous is from, Brevoort projects in Bed-Stuy. My cousin is from LG, Lafayette Gardens, Kelsey.
Let me ask you this. So, bringing this up to speed to CRU THIK, what is the memories that you have on the beginning and foundation, and how did you become a part of what ultimately will be known as the CRU THIK Dynasty Raiders?
Well, at the time, just being in the streets with me and my cousin Kelsey, we connect with, on the peninsula, we connect with Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel Jackson, the actor?
Nah. Samuel L. Jackson, the street nigga, the ghetto superstar, who most people on the pen, Hampton and Newport News know as Mousy Jackson.
Okay.
Or Mousy.
Okay, Mousy.
Just Mousy back then. Mousy started CRU THIK.
Okay.
Now, we was in the streets, but Mousy, he was all connected. Like, we used to get in clubs, we used to get in arenas, shows, backstage. We was everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I was 15 going on 16. I'm getting in 21 and up clubs. I'm getting in 25 and up clubs. You know, we concerts at the Hampton Coliseum, at motherfucking the Norfolk Scope. You know what I'm saying? Harlem Nights, Inner Circle, like, we everywhere, and we just getting in. We you know, Mousy was powerful with connections, and he put me on the phone with Chris Lighty, nigga, before he was Chris Lighty, nigga, when he was just the Violators, when they was a gang, when they was the muscle for Red Alert, when they was just the street thug niggas, you know what I'm saying? This is in the late 80s, you know what I'm saying? And the Tribe Called Quest and the Jungle Brothers and all them niggas. You know what I'm saying? Mousy had the motherfucking chicken video of Organized Confusion, who most people know, Pharaoh Monch, like 2 years before the shit came out. You feel me? VHS tape. We watching this shit before we even know who these niggas is. Mousy had me on the phone with fucking Tribe Called Quest manager. You know what I'm saying? Chopping it up. You know what I'm saying? We backstage. You know what I'm saying? But before Mike, you know, fucking Tribe going on, I got fucking 5 Mike. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I want to rip this bitch. You know what I'm saying? But humbly giving it to, like, Mousy was the nigga. So he was the nigga. He had a lot of pull and connect as far as clubs and also the industry, music industry already, but also he was the nigga in the streets. He was tough in the streets as well. You feel me? But it was a particular night when I got on stage and performed at Harlem Nights with Organized Confusion and motherfucking OC. Before these niggas really even came out, but Mousy never knew I rap. You know what I'm saying? We were just in the streets. We were just all over the cities, you know what I'm saying, over the Tidewater area. So after he was like, yo, nigga, you crazy, but you ain't rapper. You know, he going crazy. He was like, yo. You know what I'm saying? So the next day, this nigga was like, yo, he called, he was like, yo, I want to put you with my nigga Plex. He's a DJ.
Is that the same Plex that produced 40 bars for Allen Iverson?
Correct.
Okay, so
right,
we got Mousy,
Randy Billups, aka Plex, aka Hatchet B.
So you got
one and only.
You got with Mousy, and he put you with Plex.
Now, first, this is the funniest thing. First, we introduced me to Plex. We go to Plex house. We go down to Plex basement, and we getting to know each other. But keep in mind, my cousin Kelsey is my DJ still, technically. You know what I'm saying? So Mouse like, okay, we're gonna have a battle. So it was supposed to be a battle between Plex and my cousin, who is DJ Def. That was his DJ name, DJ Def Kelsey. So over Mouse Mama house, you know what I'm saying, on their basement, Plex bought his turntables on top of the washers. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And Plex got on them turntables. He started doing all the tricks and transforming and all this crazy shit. My cousin Kelsey would not touch them goddamn turntables. He would not get on them goddamn turntables. He just faded into oblivion. He just focused on being a street nigga and a criminal, which he still is to this day, unfortunately.
So
shout out to my cousin Kelsey from Brooklyn, Lafayette Gardens.
So Plex, Plex ultimately will become integral part of CRU THIK at that point?
It's me and Plex at that time. That's the start of CRU THIK. It's me, Plex, and Mouse's mama, who was an incredible jazz singer.
Now, for the listener and a lot of people in the country or across the planet, CRU THIK became a household name once Allen Iverson was drafted #1 draft pick in 1996. How would he become a part of a movement that had began in the streets and ultimately will continue on to be some of the illest MCs from the area in that time period? How did that come about?
Well, because we have built the name, and it's mainly because of me, Plex. Shout out to Mousy, you know what I'm saying? But Mouse had got locked up. Mousy had got locked up. But me, Plex, E, and Ra, who makes up Mad Rugged. E, who is also known as Tyrant, aka who the world knows as Ty Gracie.
Okay.
Better known as Ty Gracie. And Ra, the illicit, Ra the disagreeable, aka Amin Ra, the sun god Ra, who a lot of people know, being around Chuck, as Ra Boogie. They made up Mad Rugged. So first it was just me and Plex, as far as the hip hop side of it. You know what I'm saying? Then it was me, Plex, and E. Then it was me, Plex, E, and Ra. Then it was me, Plex, E, Ra, and Troy Catchmore, aka
Catchmore.
Catch. Then it was me, Plex, E, Ra, Troy, and Echo. Then it was me, Plex, E, Ra, Troy, Echo, and 9.5, aka Antoine Richardson.
Okay.
Feel me? Then it was me, Plex, E, Ra, Troy, Echo, Antoine Richardson, aka 9.5. Then 5, who oldest daughter.
Now 5, you say 5, you mean is that the 5
most
from...
people don't know, but 5FT from the legendary Brooklyn group Black Moon is an original CRU THIK Dynasty Raider.
Okay.
Even before Nova came, 5 was already there. Even before your group, Jogging, 5 was there. Even before Remedy used to rap with another nigga named Zach, who he and Rod used to hate. And until he came up with that Download song that Plex produced. Shout out to Zach. But he was in a group, Remedy was an original group with Zach called the Grassroots, which they had to change the name because at the time the Roots was coming out. This was like 91, 92, before their debut album. You know what I'm saying? But
so
we were already made the name CRU THIK, and Hampton and Newport News was already buzzing and becoming a household name and a thing that everybody was waiting and anticipating. This is before Chuck even started going to Bethel High School.
Okay.
Where he took Bethel to back-to-back state championships in football and basketball. The CRU THIK name is already throughout the streets of Hampton and Newport News.
So CRU THIK,
especially Bad News, especially the East End.
So CRU THIK was already well established long before Allen Iverson will become, professionally and most famously known for his crossover and any NBA accolades that he has acquired at this point.
Yes indeed.
Now I heard
other
you mention
MCs as well as street niggas wanted to become part of CRU THIK.
Now I heard you mention
with CRU THIK.
I heard you mention Nova. When did Nova join forces with Crew Thick, and what are some of the things that you remember about Nova?
93.
Okay.
It's 93. See, originally Nova was supposed to be their own entity.
Right.
The original creators of Nova is my nigga Dexter Johnson and Kevin Swillen, aka Swill, aka Bloody Red. We were grooming them to be like us.
Right.
We were mentoring. We started off at mentoring them, grooming and mentoring Nova, which stands for niggas out of VA or niggas out of Virginia.
Right.
So we were mentoring them, Bloody and Dex. Dex was supposed to be like Plex. Dex was making the beats for Nova initially. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he was the leader. He was the thought. And Bloody, you know what I'm saying? Swill, And then, like even Evil Lens, but most people know as Tico, and Cremation, they were in a group called Dyad.
Okay.
And their group themselves was being groomed by Mad Rugged.
Right.
Lens wanted to be Tyrant.
Right.
Wanted to be E. He used to he was like a Anunnaki god. He used to instill his DNA in so many MCs back in the early 90s.
Yes, he did.
To elevate them to a god status on the microphone. Say what you want about my brother, but can't nobody take that from him.
Nobody.
You know what I'm saying? I know you came up with a concept. You know what I'm saying? The concept and the song and the album I know you was working on that I know you still probably want to put out called The School of Rhyme.
Right.
But he literally had that School of Rhyme.
Right.
I Gracie had that School of Rhyme. Tyrant, Mom's Mouth of Madness had the School of Rhyme. But in Nova, you had Dyad, which means two. You know what I'm saying? But Dyad, E was up Lens was up under E, and Cremation was up under Ra.
Okay.
So Mad Rugged was very heavily invested in the formation of Dyad at that time, which was part of Nova. You know what I'm saying? And we were just grooming them, but and then it was just like, y'all are Crew Thick. It wasn't even no thing. It was like, niggas, we all one. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like, but like I said, initially, we were just grooming and mentoring them, and they were supposed to be their own entity. You know what I'm saying?
So
and it was started by Dexter Johnson, a.k.a. Snake Eyes, a.k.a. Black Pistol Crip, my nigga Dexter Johnson. And like I said, Bloody Red, a.k.a. Kevin Swillen, a.k.a. Swill.
So at this particular point, like you said, the years around 1992, 93, 92, now we all know that Allen Iverson was drafted in 1996. What type of changes did you see once that happened as far as Crew Thick and, the usual routine of operation for the crew? What did that take the crew? What do you remember about that time once he was drafted and now, people see the Crew Thick tattoos on him and they're asking questions about Crew Thick? What was the discussion at that time?
I mean, to me, it was like a gift and a curse, because on one hand, it's like, okay, just him mentioning Crew Thick, just him with the tattoos, you know what I'm saying? Because at first he didn't have a tattoo when he first came in the league. That came a couple years later, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
but him doing interviews, Crew Thick Dynasty rated, you know what I'm saying? Like he was on the Source Awards. People don't, you got to go back when DMX first came out.
Right.
When he got Album of the Year, Chuck came out, AI, and he gave DMX the Album of the Year award, Artist of the Year. And when he came on stage, the first words he said into the mic was, Crew Thick Dynasty Raiders.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So Chuck definitely put on, I liken it to like what Snoop did for Crippin'. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody knew, you know what I'm saying, what Crippin' was before. But Snoop, you can't deny, Snoop took Crippin' worldwide, you feel me? And you can't take that from that nigga, you feel me? Like the same thing with Chuck, he took Crew Thick worldwide. We had Crew Thick on Reebok, his Reebok tennis shoes, which are the only shoes, I don't know now because I'm not tapped in. But at the time, during Chuck heyday, his tennis shoes was the only shoes that ever outsell Michael Jordan's.
Okay. So
you feel me?
Yeah. Now, you got Crew Thick on a national stage at this point, and what are some of the things that's going on at home at this time, during this time period, as far as it's a lot of members of Crew Thick, and what are some of the day-to-day ups and downs or things that you remember about this era of Crew Thick ultimately becoming...
you saying when Chuck went pro?
Yeah, when Chuck went pro.
Well, it was like a split so far as that. At the time, this is when I'm at my height of knowledge of self and being taught by the master teacher, who later became known as Dr. Malachi Z. York, who was the same teacher when I was under the Ansarullah Community School of Thought, Imam Isa. But most people know him culturally as Dr. York because a lot of hip-hop artists from New York have put his name in their songs, like Cameron, Jules Santana, Nas. That's where Nas got the word ether from.
Right.
And because Dr. York is the one that came and taught us about what ether is and 9 ether and our hair follicles and being woolly and all of these things. Jaz-O, who mentored and put Jay-Z on, was part of our community. He had a song called Originators. If you go back and look at Jazz, aka Jaz-O's video Originators, he has on the same Ansarullah garment and flag of his Mahdi Muhammad Ahmed, which was our master teacher's great-great-grandfather. And he has a picture of Imam Isa in the video. And they shot the video, part of the video, in front of the store in Bushwick in the community. So Jaz-O was around as well, you know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? This was the type of things that was going on, but I was also building communities. I was teaching classes. You know what I'm saying? I'm at Norfolk State. I'm at Hampton. I'm at ODU. You know what I'm saying? Teaching classes and students and bringing them to our class on Sundays and throughout the week. So, and I'm bringing niggas from Newport News, from 75th Street and Ridley Circle and Dickinson Courts and, 36th Street, and Chestnut over to Norfolk and teaching them class and studying the tablets. When Chuck went pro, like the day Chuck went pro, AI went pro, guess what date that was?
It was in June, correct?
Yeah, June 26, 1996.
Right.
Now, if you see the videos when Chuck went pro, most you're not going to see me in there. You're going to see Arnie, Marlon, Gold, E-Ra. You know why?
Why is that?
Because anybody who's an Ansar or Nawapian / Sabian, you know that June 26th, that's our Savior's Day. That's
Savior's Day.
Dr. Malachi Z. York's birthday. So I was down with since 1992, we've been down in Georgia building pyramids in Edenton, Georgia.
Right.
So usually between June 22nd or June 23rd to July 4th, for like a 2-week period, I'm in Georgia, you know what I'm saying, between Atlanta and Edenton, you know what I'm saying, on the land, chilling and building and just on a spiritual journey, making our pilgrimage. Like how Muslims go to Mecca and make pilgrimage around the Kaaba. You know, we used to go to Edenton, Georgia, to the land, the Holy Land, Egypt of the West, and make pilgrimage around the Black Mirror, the Black Pyramid, that was surrounded by a pool of water. And a labyrinth, that you walked around a labyrinth to turn yourself inside out, then outside in again. It's a whole spiritual science. So I was in Georgia at the time Chuck went pro. So a lot of cats we all come from the streets, but I had so much power and influence over cats from the streets from Newport News that not only was I on my journey to raising my consciousness and getting knowledge of self, basically the whole crew was. You feel me?
Exactly. So you brought the information that you had obtained and would bring that back to CRU THIK, or you know, your brothers in CRU THIK. Would that be accurate?
And niggas in the streets in general, even niggas that wasn't part of CRU THIK, I was given the information to. That's why I'm beloved throughout the whole city of Hampton and Newport News, regardless if you CRU THIK or not. You know what I'm saying? Niggas know me for uplifting and inspiring and sparking the DNA explosions in a lot of different people for their biological time clocks to go off so they can become aware or conscious in this moment of time called now.
Now, I want to move a little forward into as far as when was the black cloth created and how did that come about? You know, as far as, you know, CRU THIK was a major movement, and you know, Allen Iverson was a part of that. And you know, at some point, you know, it was already Nova, and which I know a part of Nova you have Killer Germ as well as Zodiac and
Rhyme Fiend,
Felon, and Jackpot. Dep. So during this time period,
Pat, physical absolute torture.
Exactly.
Shout out to Pat.
And shout out to Germ and Jackpot. Rest in peace to Felon.
Rhyme Fiend.
And rest in peace to Rhyme Fiend as well. Rhyme Phenomenal. Incredible lyricist. What was the point at which the black cloth was formed, and what do you remember about that time, and why did the black cloth come about? Or how did the black cloth come about?
Black cloth came about because of circumstance and the struggle. It was, when did you make The Struggle? You made a crucial record called The Struggle.
Yeah, The Struggle was a crucial record.
The Struggle Don't Stop.
Yeah, The Struggle Don't Stop.
What year was that?
I can't recall the year it was, but it was actually my first solo record that I recorded. So I can't recall it. The actual
it was
year.
99.
99. Yeah, that sounds about right.
This is in between when you was up in Maryland and then with Kelsey.
Right.
And then you started coming back home, back and forth. And once going from 99 into 2000, shout out to Little John, aka Field Nigga, Johnny Field Nigga, the original Johnny Field Nigga, tribal wear back in the late 80s, early 90s. He had a clothing company called Tribal Wear. Dolo, Johnny Field nigga, he's the originator of that. Another Newport News legend.
Damn right.
But he had some houses that he was in. One of them, Overtown, Newport News, he was renting out to a member of Nova, Depp. And Depp let us stay with him. We were staying at Depp crib. And I can't forget the homie Cutter, aka Calhoun.
Cutter Black.
Reggie from another Brooklyn transplant, a legendary Bad News, Virginia street nigga. We were just circumstances. This is like, okay, Chuck went pro in '96, but we don't got no deal. We don't got no fucking money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's a whole lot of partying and bullshit. We in the Matrix. We had clubs. We had concerts. We had everywhere. We had NBA games. Bitches, models, singers, actresses, all that shit. But me, I ain't give a fuck about none of that shit.
Exactly.
Our whole purpose of CRU THIK, we were supposed to take over the world. We were all still am the greatest ensemble of any MCs all together that can't nobody fuck with. Then, now, the future, don't matter. We still the shit. We still that crazy. So, at this point in time, the first couple of years, just being around Chuck and the NBA and going to the games and being around the celebrities and the bitches and the groupies and the models and the actresses and the singers and all that shit. But niggas, certain niggas fed into it, and certain niggas, we didn't really give a fuck about that shit. We was trying to get on. We was trying to get a deal. We was trying to get some money so we can get up out these streets, be focused, and now it's our time to shine. Just like the world know about Allen Iverson, you feel me? And they see the impact and the impression that you're leaving on the league. We wanted to do that same thing for hip-hop culture.
So the Black Cloth... The Black Cloth formed out of necessity from the things that were happening in the
or not happening
in the quote unquote matrix. The Bubba Chuck movement, the Bubba Chuck era of CRU THIK. Now,
yeah, the Bubba Chuck era of CRU THIK. Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Once the Black Cloth was formed, what do you remember about the records that were being produced from the Black Cloth and the effect that they had?
Do you know the first record we did together as Black Cloth?
We did a lot of records.
Change.
We did a lot of records. Loose Change.
Loose Change, the Pink Floyd. Shout out to Frankie Strange.
Now
that's the Black Cloth's first producer.
Now I would definitely
my nigga Kevin L from a group called from Virginia Beach, from out the whole College Park area of Virginia Beach, from a group called Black World Order. Kevin L's little brother, Frankie Strange, produced it. He became our producer. And the first joint we did, he had that. It was a Pink Floyd sample.
You take a win with a loss. Now I know.
Because to be the boss, you take a win with a loss.
I knew that. The term "loose change." You were the first person I heard using that. So we, during that time, it was a lot of music being recorded. So my mind is everywhere when it comes to that, and I have to, refer back to you on certain things in this era. Now, what do you remember, though, about the impact of the Black Cloth once the music started being heard, and the people that we ultimately would affect, and the things that were going on because of that music?
It's like now when artists get on, or they're trying to get a deal, or they're like on some please listen to my demo. I would always tell niggas, like, I was always confident in who I was. And I ain't never need no another nigga to get on, to get a record deal, to get some money. I only went along with the crowd. I only went along with the collective because we had a purpose. We had a certain movement, and we were supposed to be moving all in the same direction for a certain cause.
Right.
But there was other agendas going on. But I could always separate myself and do me. But it was never about me. It was always about us. And anybody that know me, especially within CRU THIK, but people that know me in general know that I'll always put myself last and put everybody before me. And that was a problem, even though I thought I was doing the right thing at the time.
So now
that's part of my nature.
Okay, so now that we have a little background on you and your upbringing and coming to Virginia and the CRU THIK beginnings, and you know, after Bubba Chuck was drafted, aka Allen Iverson, and the things that were going on, we're going to skip to this legendary Virgin Records meeting, this infamous Virgin Records meeting with CRU THIK and Virgin Records. Now, I was a part of that meeting, you know, and you have to go back and check out the meeting that killed CRU THIK, an episode that we recently aired, and that will give you the insights on the things that were taking place in that meeting. But the question that, you know, I have for you is, what do you remember about the meeting, and what steps did the Black Cloth take to remedy the effects of that meeting that happened?
Well, that's a good question, because I had to remind you that I wasn't at the meeting. I was in Virginia at the time, just holding us down, making sure at home was straight. And plus, at that time, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, niggas had got tired. This is 2003. So at this time, Chuck had been in the league like 6 years plus.
Right.
You feel me? But we still ain't on. We still ain't known. We still don't got a bag. We not rich. We not famous. We not doing what we love. We love to murder MCs. We love to make records. That's what the fuck we did. Right. We love to make incredible, great hip hop fucking music.
So basically, Allen Iverson is in his prime, in the prime of his career. Yes. When this meeting happened.
Yes. So I'm not around. So I was at home, and plus I'm taking care of my daughters. At this time in 2003, I'm disconnected because niggas is on bullshit. And what I mean by niggas, I'm talking about niggas in the Matrix. I'm talking about Chuck, you know, E, Ty Gracie, and then at this time, Ra's gone. Ra got killed. Ra's not around. So now, as far as CRU THIK, which is really the CRU THIK, which is the MCs, we Mike Nice. CRU THIK, Dynasty Raiders, Iron Curtain, Mike Nice, Underground Terrorist Code since 1990. You feel me?
Right.
But then you got other members of CRU THIK that don't got nothing to do with the music, but are heavily involved and heavily influenced on the decision making of what direction CRU THIK going. Like Arnie, Marlon, Gold, these type of people.
Right.
Which Chuck is allowing to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm digging in your chest like, fuck niggas.
Right.
But you was still, prior to the meeting, you know what I'm saying, you still trying to give it the old college try.
Yeah, trying to hold it together, keep it together.
You trying to hold both ends of the rope together to bring us together. But I'm like, we don't need Chuck to get a deal. I always tell you, we don't need Chuck to get a deal. We don't need me, So when you happened at the meeting and you went and signed that contract with Woody, which is Chuck's Jewish lawyer, and Chuck at the hotel after the Virgin meeting, I was so pissed off at you, I cursed you out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I remember that.
But then after you explained your situation and your family situation, I understood, and I had to respect you for that. Once you made me see what the circumstances was. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I was just pissed off because, I know, nigga, you at this time you the nigga. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Ain't nobody on the fucking planet fucking with you. You know what I'm saying?
Straight
but
like
at
that.
The same time, shit was real and circumstances with your family, you know what I'm saying? So I had to respect it. But then now, after that meeting, and you signed the contract, but you don't get no fucking money.
Zero.
You don't get no money. So now, you are pissed. Now, when you came home like Denzel, man on fire. You didn't give a fuck no more. And I was so goddamn happy.
And what do you remember about the process of making the tape, the piece of work that ultimately would be the downfall or the explosion?
The Virgin meeting was so crucial, and you so eloquently put it, so people could recognize that it was an album. And we spoke even earlier in Philly at Gold Studio in Philly, where they had the album listening party with E, with Chad Elliott and Care from LA and Andre Wright and all these big record music execs and different people in Philly, to where, and we played High Crimes and For the Love, and then all of a sudden Chuck taking you on a ride, on the Bentley ride in Philly in the middle of the night, trying to get High Crimes put on E album.
Right.
See, this is when all the bullshit is happening. But so that was the first thing. But then after the Virgin meeting, it was undeniable. So then nothing happened after the Virgin meeting. There's no checks. There's no checks cut. No money distributed. No group or any individual artist signed the Virgin Records.
Nobody.
Now it's like niggas' eyes are wide open. Now this is like politics. Motherfuckers are politicking. So now you got E, who had Chad Elliott, who did records for Destiny Child. He did Booming Systems for LL Cool J. He did stuff he was known as the Cat in the Hat producer.
DMX.
Multi-million record sales.
Right.
He was executive producer E album. You had Allen Iverson, you know what I'm saying, backing you up, co-signing you, and putting up a budget money for your album. You had features like Nicole Ray, Coogee Rap, Fat Joe, Scarface, Snoop Dogg.
Right.
And they turning and looking at you, this other nigga, Rocky Dennis, aka Danger, who got a group called the Black Cloth, and who redid these records with Jay Swift in his house.
Right.
We doing vocals in the bathroom, nigga. And we formulated, I was like, we need to use the NBA logo.
Right.
And said, instead of having a basketball, I was like, we put an AK, and it's niggas better act right. And act is spelled with AK.
Exactly.
And the K is an AK. Now, going into 2004, the All-Star Weekend was going to be in LA that year. Remember?
Right. I remember that.
It was in LA. If you go back and you do your history, NBA All-Star Weekend was in February, was in LA. So we was gonna press up like 10,000 of these bitches. We was like, we're gonna get rich off of this mixtape, this killer tape.
Right.
We gonna have the NBA logo. It's gonna have you on one side in red, Danger, and me, SMOKGOD, in blue. You know what I'm saying? Niggas better act right. And we was like, we gonna go to LA and we gonna kill them. Because of the Virgin meeting, wasn't no check cut, wasn't no money handed out, wasn't no deal signed. Now niggas are scrambled because now they seen that the record execs really wanted you. They wanted Danger.
Right.
They wanted to see what's up with Rocky Dennis. You know what I'm saying? So
which at
had
that point,
features. He had Allen Iverson. He had Chad Elliott, executive producing. He had the budget behind him. He had the features.
Now the whole thing was that they did want to see what was up with Danger, aka Rocky Dennis, but Danger had signed that contract, so they couldn't get with Danger. They had to go through Allen Iverson and Ty Gracie to even approach Danger, and it was stopping at those guys. It never.
Yeah, but also after that, niggas still wanted the money. Niggas still wanted to eat. Niggas still wanted to deal. So after the Virgin record meeting, there was another meeting set up with another label, Sony Records. Sony was trying to sign niggas, and they had a bag. They had some M's, some millions they wanted to give us, CRU THIK. But now they done pissed my nigga Danger off. See, I done been not giving a fuck. I was always quick to curse niggas out and say fuck niggas if they was doing some fuck shit. I'm allergic to fuck shit, bullshit, and everybody would tell you. So at this time, so now it's another situation. It's another meeting, a Sony meeting. Now Sony is trying to sign CRU THIK, and they got millions they want to give us. But now they waiting on Danger. They waiting on us.
And what do you remember? What do you remember?
The Virgin meeting, niggas didn't even want you at the meeting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The Virgin people had to come and tell you about the meeting and make sure you was there. And niggas didn't even know you was there. Most niggas probably was surprised when they seen you. So as we working on this killer tape, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Jay Swift, my nigga.
Damn right.
East New York, Brooklyn finest. Dope ass DJ, dope ass producer. You know what I'm saying? We over Jay Swift. You know, even before Papoose came out, while we working on this particular killer tape, that nigga Jay Swift had Papoose calling the crib. We chopping it up with Papoose before he became Papoose.
Right.
During the making of this killer tape in 2003. Papoose came out in 2004. You feel me?
Right.
That's a whole nother story. You know, like I said, I got the memory of an elephant, cuz, for sure. But the Sony meeting is now cracking. But now they done pissed you off because when they were supposed to, when you signed that contract with Allen Iverson after the Virgin meeting, and Woody, his Jewish lawyer, you know what I'm saying? Now, and then they didn't give you the money, and you had certain situations going on with your family and the other issues that was so fucking real, you was pissed off. And that was the real reason, you know what I'm saying? Because you had certain shit you needed to get done for your family, and you wasn't able to make that happen for your family. So that's when you was like Denzel, man on fire, coming back home, you feel me? But now the Sony meeting, it's a Sony meeting, and they got millions, and now niggas is ready. Niggas is ready to sign, niggas is CRU THIK, you know, whereas in the Virgin meeting, you know, the president, you know, he was like, well, maybe they don't want to hear Ty Gracie. Maybe we should do a CRU THIK album compilation and let the people decide. You know, and Chuck was like, it's whatever he want to do, meaning E, and he ain't want to do that. It was all about him. But now when the Sony meeting come up, niggas is ready to sign on the dotted line and waiting for us. But we ain't budging. Now, see, I was always dragging my feet, but Danger was, like I said, trying to hold the rope together, both sides, and, the whole college try and be a good soldier for the cause and all that. But now he ain't with that. Now he on the same time I'm on.
Right.
So he like, fuck niggas, you know what I'm saying? So now we not answering niggas calls. We not coming around. We now, now we dragging our feet for the Sony meeting.
Right.
Come on, Sony trying to sign. They got millions. They trying to give us this bag, We like, fuck that, because we already know we working on the killer tape.
We were on a mission, to right the wrongs, to get to this bag of the time that we had sacrificed, and the things that we fought for, the things that our family needed us for. So it was no stopping what we were creating.
Kuda came home during this time when we started working on the killer tape.
Yes, he did. My
he
brother
had been home. I ain't seen Kuda since '97. I'll never forget. This nigga, him and E was riding around in a convertible Beamer, BMW, and my sister had just graduated. It was May of '97. I never forget. My sister was graduating Norfolk State, and she had a graduation party. All her friends from Norfolk State, all the females was over there, and Kuda and E was way on this side of the water, out the beach, trying to get out all these females. And I ain't seen Kuda since. This was '97. So May of '97, he must have got locked up that year, because that's the last memory I had of Kuda.
Nah, it is.
Was him coming to my sister's graduation party. Because in another month, in June, my whole family packed up and moved back to L.A. And I was here by myself. You know what I'm saying? My daughter was born on March 12th, my youngest daughter. You know what I'm saying? So I had a lot going on, but I was the only one that decided to stay in Virginia. My whole family, after my sister graduated in May, my whole family left and moved back to LA on June 30th, the next month. You know what I'm saying? So Kuda came home in 2003, and he had been gone since '97.
Yeah.
And what happened, his impact and the process of us recording this and the zeal he had for what we was doing, like you said, made niggas feel a certain way. So on the next episode, we need to tap into that.
We'll definitely,
you feel me?
Yeah, definitely tap into that. Shout out to the dog, my brother from another.
Shout
love
out
you,
to the
bro.
dog.
You know what I mean? So with that being said, this has been another episode of Hard Rap Cafe, hosted by Rocky Dennis, and tapping in with my man SMOKGOD, aka the West Wind. Tune in next week as we'll dive into the infamous killer tape, Niggas Better Act Right, which changed the history of the CRU THIK dynasty and ultimately brought a legacy to a crashing halt due to circumstances that we just had to make right. So join us next week as we dive into Niggas Better Act Right. Thank you for tapping in.